this video, we're going to take a closer look at sexual reproduction in mosses, which make up the phylum known as Bryophyta. And the sexual reproduction refers to the alternation of generations covered in a previous video. So let's start by talking about the sporophyte of the sexual reproduction stages of mosses. So remember that a sporophyte is multicellular and diploid, which means that it has paired chromosomes or multiple sets of chromosomes. Now, one thing with the sporophyte is that it stays attached to the archegonium. And we haven't really talked about this word archegonium yet, but the archegonium is the female gametangium. So it's kind of like the female gonad. This is where egg cells are produced. And you can see that here. So this is the archegonium with the developing sporophyte inside. So this embryo is developing into the sporophyte. Now within the sporophyte, there are cells that are going to go through meiosis. Remember with meiosis, we take a diploid cell and turn it into haploid cells. So during meiosis, the sporophyte is going to produce unicellular haploid spores. Now you'll notice that there are some specialized structures involved in protecting the spores. And so the spores are protected by the sporophyte by this thing called a calyptra. And you can see that down on this picture here too. And this whole structure here is known as the capsule, which is also called the sporangium. And the spores are inside the sporangium. There's also a protective tip on each of the capsules, which you can see here, the operculum. And so that operculum would kind of be here. And when the spores are ready for dispersal, that operculum is going to fall off and the spores are going to be able to leave that capsule in order to go out into the environment and hopefully find a suitable place to germinate. So once the spores are released from the sporangium, and we can see that over here, those spores are going to germinate and go through mitosis in order to form a protonema. And you can see that right here. Now this protonema is going to develop into male and female gametophytes. And the male gametophyte is called an antheridia, and the female gametophyte is archegonia. And these are actually plural terms. So singular would be antheridium and archegonium. And you can kind of see that here. We've got the male gametophyte and the female gametophyte. So the male one would be the antheridium, and the female would be the archegonium. Now these gametophytes, the antheridium and the archegonium, are going to go through mitosis to form unicellular haploid gametes. And these gametes, the male gamete is going to be sperm with flagella. And the female gamete are going to be the eggs. And remember, with mitosis, whatever ploidy you start out with is what you end up with. So the male and female gametophytes are haploid, or 1N. So during mitosis, it goes from 1N to 1N. So the haploid gametophytes make haploid gametes. And you can see this on this picture over here. So we have the archegonium, or kind of the top of the archegonium here. And you can see the egg cell being produced inside the archegonium. And then up here we have the antheridium, or the head of it, and it's producing sperm. And these are just kind of blown up images of what we're seeing down here. During fertilization, the sperm are going to swim to the egg. And during fertilization, we're taking two haploid gametes and forming a diploid zygote. And you can see that diploid zygote here in this picture. And notice that it's staying within the archegonium. So the archegonium, the female structure, is actually going to protect and nourish that zygote. Now that diploid zygote is, once again, remember, it's staying inside that female structure, the archegonium, where it's going to be protected and nourished. And it's going to go through mitosis. And since it starts out as diploid, the resulting cells are also going to be diploid. So the zygote goes through mitosis in order to form a multicellular diploid sporophyte. And you can see that happening over here in the picture. So you can see the zygote inside the archegonium that is going through mitosis to first form an embryo, and then ultimately we're going to get back to the development of a sporophyte. And so this is a new and different sporophyte than what we started out with, and then the cycle is going to restart. So remember, we started out with a multicellular diploid sporophyte, and we're ending up with another new diploid multicellular sporophyte that is then going to go through the cycle again.